Josh Hart just went 4 for 6 from 3, and he recently revealed the secret behind his hot shooting. All that and more when we come back on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is XJ. I'm a native New Yorker, lifetime Knicks fan, and co-founder of the Hot Hand Theory podcast and media company. His name is Kris Pursiainen, a credentialed media member and a reporter on the NBA at Clutch Points, and as I always say, a host of a bunch of other cool NBA and sports media related work that we would never have time to go through his full resume. This is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network on the planet. Locked On Knicks brings you the most detailed insights on the New York Knicks at least 5 days a week. Guys, we are so close to 10,000 subscribers. We might be under like 500 to go. It's insane on YouTube, and that would be a huge milestone. So would really, really appreciate it if you are a listener, if you've listened to this channel before, if this is your first time, go ahead and hit the subscribe button to the channel, both on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Thanksgiving to all those listening to this on Thanksgiving. We hope you're having an amazing day with family and friends, and we know you're thankful for a 28-point Knicks win over the Charlotte Hornets on the road. And one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason for the Knicks win is Josh Hart. And Chris and I are going to really dive into what we're seeing from Josh Hart and maybe some of the reasons behind it. And I've talked enough to start this episode. I really want to hear from Chris, who has a lot of thoughts that he was texting during the game. And I was like, you know what? Those are some great ideas. Let's talk about that on the show. So what do you got for us, Chris? Fill us in.
Well, I think to start, what's going on? Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And I'm definitely thankful to be, alongside XJ here, both of us tabbed as co-hosts and be part of this community. It's definitely like I've always thought like it must be weird for the listeners, having like half the pod rotate out and then have two new voices. Like none of it's the same, but then that's also kind of cool. Like there's no pressure on like one host to just like be Alex, like we just get to be ourselves and bring our own shoes that we fill to the table, different shoes, we fill them differently, but I think it's been awesome so far. And XJ and I, this is number 2 for us where it's just the two of us. Pretty hype. So yeah, excited, thankful for all of you. Josh Hart, 22, 8, and 7. Someone is excited for his Thanksgiving spread. He played like he was thinking about it all night long, get into the basket, spraying, right? This is a consistent thing now. 34 minutes for Josh tonight. That's it. Just 34. He had 22, 8, and 7. He had 3 steals, okay? He was a plus 20, which I know single game plus minus is not, there were 2 Knicks with a better plus minus than Josh, and he was a plus 20. So that's the kind of night it was. He also had 5 fouls and 2 turnovers. Like we're not going to say that Josh Hart was George Gervin out there, right? We're not saying that he was Elgin Baylor. We're saying that he looks like a really awesome, great version of Josh Hart, which we know to be a good basketball player. And is he going to go 4 of 6 from downtown every night? No, but the fact that he went 4 of 7 on 2-pointers, I bet he could do that again. The fact that he was taking guys coast to coast in transition, finishing and 1. We've seen that before. So, yeah, maybe 4 of 6 from 3 isn't the most replicable. Maybe he won't have 5 fouls next time either, So a couple extremes here in this performance from Josh. But overall, I think 2 things. 1, a huge testament to how good he is at picking up slack of any kind. OG's out. Landry's out. Okay, 22, 8, and 7. That's like a late career LeBron stat line, right? Like if we're going to do like raw counting stat analysis like that, like if we're going to stoop, if we're going to stoop, we're going to stoop right. And we're going to be like, that is crazy. Like those are crazy numbers, but all of it felt so natural. And XJ, I want you to disagree with me if you do, that Josh is always at his best when he is thinking the least. he is at his best when he is not overthinking. He is at his best when he is not paralysizing by analyzing. He is at his best when he is not doing too much, as the kids would say. And for Josh tonight, that looked like making quick decisions. I remember sitting in front of my beady eyes, sitting in front of Tom Thibodeau being like, hey, in this playoff series against the Philadelphia 76ers that you guys are, tied in right now, like, what's the importance of Josh making quick decisions? Because whether he shoots it or not, they're leaving him open and he's burning shot clock and not making them pay for any of it. And then they're rotating by the time he does anything. So you guys are just sitting there with 8 seconds left on it was one of those like non-questions where it's like, do you see this too, right? And he's like, yeah. So like, this is the opposite of that. Josh is shooting it. And when he's shooting it, it's going in. If he's not shooting it, he's driving it. He's diming up, right? He had a triple double recently. He did not shoot well at all the other night against Brooklyn. He still had 7, 12, and 7. Like, this is when he's at his best, is when there are a bunch of skilled players around him, and he is the intentional and controlled chaos that brings this like intentionally unbridled and seemingly unrestrained energy to the table. Mikal gives it to you in spurts with the mid-ranges and the fades to the side, and the Karl gives it to you in spurts with the sporadic 30-foot bombs, But Josh is like, this is his thing. Like, he's always
that's his DNA. I love the word. I love the word unbridled there, because it's like, it is unbridled. It's just like unrestrained. Just do what you do, Josh. Take the shots when you have them. If you don't want to take the shot, make a quick decision. You touched on all the really, really important points. And I always say this, when Josh Hart is making threes, taking and making threes, even if he's not even making them, but at least taking those threes and making quick decisions, the Knicks are genuinely unstoppable offensively. He is one of the most helpful players in the entire NBA when you have that Josh Hart. And so I want him to just remove thinking from his game and just react, make good decisions, shoot when you're open, attack the basket when they close out too hard on you, like he did against Ryan Kalkbrenner tonight and got a dunk out of it. So I love that. Something that we wanted to talk about a little bit, Kris. 4 of 6 or 4 of 7 from 3. 4 of 6 from 3.
6 tonight.
What are your thoughts about whether this is real in terms of his shooting percentages? And then what did you want to talk about as far as like why he may be turning around his shooting and what could be going on behind that?
Well, so he said himself recently that Peter Patton is like a big ad in his mind. And that's the shooting coach that the Knicks added right at the end of the all. Like, it was like, maybe during the preseason that they hired this guy. Like, they had started playing basketball when they hired Peter officially, but he's the shooting coach. I forget, it was either Chris with a K or James or Bondi asked Josh like why he was so in on Peter Patton, and Josh was like, I talked to Mike specifically about us having a shooting coach that was with us on a daily basis. That was something that I told Mike I wanted. If you remember the playoffs, like a couple of years ago, it was a big thing that Josh like flew in his shooting coach from, I want to say, Texas, and was working with them like late night after hours in between playoff games. And then he was shooting really well against Philly, which allowed Jalen to start scoring at Michael Jordan levels and yada, yada. That is now something that Josh is like, hey, this has worked for me before. Let's do it again. It's happening now in the form of a shooting coach on the staff, a dedicated shooting coach. And as someone who, has posted plenty of videos of Josh warming up pregame, taking a lot of threes, I'm just going to say it like this. When he is intentionally shooting in slow motion, really focusing on the mechanics and really thinking about all the energy transfer and everything, he makes maybe 1 of every 6 to 8 shots. And when he is just firing away in warmups, not even in a game, just when he's just firing away, he makes shots much more often than he misses them. Like, I would say he makes 6 of every 8 threes because they're wide open. But you get my point, right? Like, when he's not thinking, he just shoots. And I noticed, right, like there's like the classic examples of, different players that basically the way to differentiate their shots is the last finger to touch the ball. So like MJ was a pointer finger guy, I'm pretty sure. And Pistol Pete was a middle finger guy. And I want to say Bird was a two finger. It's those three in some amalgamation. I'm too young for this, but basically like Josh is a middle finger guy. So his middle finger is the last one to touch the ball. That splint being on his ring finger and him losing feeling in his ring and pinky fingers might not matter. And the splint being there, once he's used to it, which he seems to be getting used to it, might actually, this is so ass backwards, so please bear with me. This is not medical advice. This is the opposite of it. But I think it's like accidentally working. Whether he can feel that ring and pinky finger or not, the splint is holding the ball in place consistently. The biggest thing about a shot going in is it needs to be repeatable. A splint is a variable that is you're introducing into the equation, but the splint's not going to move. It's going to be in the same place. It's very much stuck to your finger. So now that Josh is seemingly getting used to it, I think it might actually be helping him through the numbness, like in the most backwards way possible. And we could leave it there and we'll talk about what he looked like with the starters and how everything went, but after the break. But that's my crazy theory for now, is that Josh's splint is counteracting his fingers being numb. And it's just leaving him like back where he started as a shooter, which is sometimes he gets hot, sometimes he doesn't, which is ludicrous.
It's so crazy. It just might be brilliant, honestly. I think, and I really hope you're onto something, because if his shooting is real, that's going to be scary for the rest of the East. Like, it really is. And another thing that might be scary for the East is if the Knicks have figured out their starting lineup and rotations without OG Anunoby. So we will talk about that when we come right back after the break. But first, a word from our friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It helps keep every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, guys, we're back. We are going to talk about the Knicks' new look starting lineup without OG Anunoby, the rest of their rotation, why they may have found an answer for how they're going to play until OG Anunoby comes back. We saw the Knicks start with Deuce McBride and Josh Hart inserted into the starting lineup, along with the regular stars Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns. Mitchell Robinson came off the bench, and things went very, very well for both units, for both the starters and the bench units. And the rotations perhaps looked a little cleaner. Looks like they can kind of stay above water a little bit better, even better than that without OG Anunoby with this kind of starting lineup and rotation. And then we saw the minutes were, obviously they were winning by a lot, and so guys came out early, but the minutes were held largely in check. Kris already mentioned how Josh Hart played under 34 minutes, Jalen Brunson under 34 minutes, Karl-Anthony Towns under 33 minutes. The only guy that played a lot was Deuce McBride, who played 39 minutes and 39 really, really strong minutes, which we'll talk about later. What are you thinking, Kris, about the starting lineup without, pulling Mitchell Robinson out of the starting lineup, have him coming off the bench? Do you feel like this right sizes things for the Knicks and allows them to play better and more balanced basketball without OG Anunoby?
I'm going to make you an integral part of the thought process here. So just like interrupt me at any point, right?
Okay.
If something is wrong or you disagree or whatever, right? The Knicks are better when Mitch is healthy than when he's not. The Knicks should do what it takes to get Mitch healthy to the postseason. The Knicks have been taking the approach of playing him in stints, spurts, and other words that start with an S and end with a TS and are like vaguely referred to as being directed by the medical team that's led by someone new every day. And that is something that is worth doing and is worthwhile to get him healthy to the playoffs, where the Knicks are better with him than without him. Still with me? Here we go. If he is playing in these spurts and stints, which Mike Brown has told reporters are slowly increasing in size, with regard to like the ceiling, like how long these stints can be. But if that's how things are going to be, which is fine because it'll get him healthy to the postseason where the Knicks are better with him than without him, then why is he starting? Like, it's fine to do these things. These spurts and stints are fine, but then starting doesn't make sense, especially if you want him closing. Because if he's starting, that's at least 4 minutes out of the 20 that that's it. And if you want him to close, you want him to play the final 5 to 8 minutes, all of a sudden you can only play him for one stint in the second or third quarter, and that's it, because he's got to start and close. Well, he doesn't have to start and close, so they did this instead. You were talking about this, I feel like, before they did it. Am I wrong about that? You were like, if he's starting, if he's doing the stints, they don't need to start him. They just need to close him.
That might have been a Jeff comment. So because I actually somewhat disagree with you, and Jeff, who agrees with you,
so then it was Jeff.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying makes a ton of sense. The only thing that I would say is my reasoning for starting Mitch would be because you believe that's going to be your starting lineup in the playoffs. If you think Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson are going to start together in the playoffs, then it makes sense for Mitch's limited minutes to play a bunch of those limited minutes with Karl-Anthony Towns. So that's much more of a forward thinking kind of strategy. Now, is it better for the Knicks in the short term for Mitchell Robinson to come off the bench? Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is the case, especially exactly what you laid out. And then I just don't think he'll be able to close a lot of these games when he starts because of that kind of issue. You can't just play in the first quarter, not play again, until the end of the fourth. It's ridiculous. So for all of those reasons, I think you're right. My only thing is, if you're really committed to this idea that Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitch are going to be your starters in the postseason, I don't think that's a thing you can barely do in the regular season and then just run it out in the postseason and just assume that's going to work out well. So that would be the only issue.
If they close like every game though, or like most games,
yeah, it's the same as starting. That's
the playoff rep right there, right? Or like because I get what you're saying, where it's like, you only get so many chances to get reps ahead of the playoffs, and then all those reps are not going to be the same as each other. Like, for example,
right.
I know tonight's the Cup, so the point the differential, yada yada, it's a little different. By the way, for anyone who might care, the Knicks are now 2-1 in Cup play. They have a plus 26 point differential after 3 games, and as we're recording this, the Heat are losing. Are they beating the Bucks? But they beat the Bucks. So the Heat beat the Bucks, and now the Knicks play the Bucks on Friday, which is tomorrow for you who's listening, on Thursday, and that'll determine what goes on here. But the Knicks are very much alive in this whole Cup shindig. Anyway, so it was a little different tonight. But on a usual Wednesday night versus Charlotte, your biggest concern is not playoff reps, but there's something more powerful than that to what you're saying about, well, you need them at some point. Like you need them. And I think I'm willing to, if I'm the Knicks, to gamble that you'll get enough at the end of games. Mitchell Robinson is the one guy who I feel like has never had any sort of issue just appearing out of nowhere after not playing for 8 months and then just starting against Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's actually just fine every time. I kind of have nothing I can say. I can't be well, he could be a little rusty. He might be at his best when he is Justin Pugh straight off the couch to Giants O-line starter. That might be when he's at his best. Who knows? That might be a superpower.
And to this point, I mean, I think that could be the case. I would be very, very scared to bank on that, but he's proven it at every turn that he does it. So it's
that's the thing. It's there's no way this coin lands on heads again, right?
Again, yeah. But just looking at Mitch tonight, obviously it's a very small sample size. He played in the lineup, which was Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Deuce McBride, Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, in about 6 minutes that completely blitzed the Charlotte Hornets. They won those 6 minutes by 20 points.
It was a shellacking.
They completely blitzed the Hornets in that. I mean, and of course there's variance and a bunch of stuff that goes into that, but Mitchell Robinson was absolutely part of, the winning lineup for the Knicks tonight. So I think that is something to consider in terms of these rotations looking good for the current situation for the Knicks without OG Anunoby. And then when OG comes back, you have some decisions to make, but maybe you have more information as you get more reps in this kind of situation, like you explained, Kris.
Well, we got the Shamet update during the day. So
we did.
We could talk about that on the other side because we got a time frame on that. And, you said the rotation without OG, but I think without Landry might be just as important after this news flash we got earlier. So
that's an incredible tease. That was better than anything I was going to say. So just stick around for that. And we'll also talk about Deuce McBride with an incredible performance as well. We'll be right back. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game like James Harden did the other night, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want. So next time someone goes off for 50, use promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass. Plus, your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only, 50% off, up to $10 the next day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply, no purchase necessary, ends April 13th, open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. All right, guys, we are back talking about the Knicks' destruction of the Charlotte Hornets on the road. We are going to talk a little bit of Landry Shamet news, like Kris said before we came back from the break. We're going to talk about Deuce McBride and his performance and how encouraging that performance might be. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we saw in this game and trying to extrapolate some of that for, yes, they played the Charlotte Hornets, and yes, they beat the Hornets and the Nets, and yes, these are lowly Eastern Conference teams, but what can we extrapolate and pull into what things might look like against the big guns in the East and the tough teams in the West, and is there anything that we can take away from some of these wins? But let's start with Landry Shamet. Kris, you teased before the break about the news that we got about Landry recently, and then what that might mean for the team moving forward. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, maybe the whole starting lineup adjustment today was maybe influenced by this because Landry Shamet out for at least 4 weeks with what they're calling a shoulder sprain. The tea leaves are kind of settling and spelling out in Vine that surgery would end his season, and they're trying to avoid it, and they think they can avoid it, and it could totally pop out again, which is what happened within the last week, but also he could be back in a month or two and not next year. So for someone who Mike Brown said today that if the Knicks feel like they want to cut him, he would pay his salary himself, which is a crazy cosign from your head coach, but also that's Landry Shamet for you. That's why he's on this team. That's, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. But Landry, bulldog, right? And he's 6'4" brings that point of attack. I know I joke with Gavin all the time. I wish I could scrub that from NBA Twitter's brains along with some other phrases that we've now let become late stage Peter Griffin caricatures of themselves. Anyway, the Flandersization of point of attack defense and whatever else. But maybe Deuce in the starting lineup is the response to that call, right? Hey, we are going to want ball pressure outside of Mikal because Mikal is a beast and he feasts when he's in that free safety role. But when Mikal is Cam Chancellor, he's hooping. But Jamal Adams, not so much. So maybe we start Deuce for this next month. Like, I think Mike Brown's going to look into whatever. I think he's willing to check out any kind of look if he thinks it can work out. So we'll see. Cat at the 5 against Charlotte, that'll play, right? So
that works. You hit on the exact point that I was going to go to. So we're even starting to think on the same level at this point, Chris. I was going to say the exact same thing. So Deuce, the importance of Deuce starting really is to put Mikal in his like appropriate role. And Mike Brown has really, really catered to Mikal in a really good way. It's why we're seeing some of the best basketball of his career so far right now in Mikal Bridges. And I think he knows that Mikal's comfort level, playing in the right role, not only leads to the best version of him in terms of doing the things that he is best at, but leads to the best version of him in terms of the energy level that he displays, like his effort level, like his focus and concentration. He's been just so locked in on both sides. And I think Brown does not want to disrupt that. And so I believe that putting Deuce McBride, having him in, being the point of attack defender, sorry, Chris, having him be the POA defender there, and having Mikal be off ball in that safety role where he's so disruptive. He was tremendous tonight or last night. And there were a couple plays where like there was actually one play where he was guarding LaMelo Ball, who we won't talk about as a shell of himself right now, but he's guarding LaMelo Ball, and the Hornets spacing was terrible all night. And Mikal was pressing up on the ball, but also guarding LaMelo behind him. And he was in a situation, I think it was against Brandon Miller. He was in a situation where if Miller was able to get the ball to LaMelo, that would have been a wide open 3. But Mikal was so close to him. It reminded me of a tennis match where you're playing up against the net and it's like, well, if they get it past you, yeah, they're going to score the point, but like they got to get it past you. And Mikal did not allow the ball past him. He got the steal, went the other way, and the Knicks scored an easy 2. And he's so focused and locked in to be able to kind of make those quick decisions like that, especially when he's off the ball. He does a great OG Anunoby impersonation off the ball. And so I just think that that's the appropriate role for him. And so I think having Deuce McBride as a starter, especially when we see Deuce McBride perform how he did in this game, 5 for 5 from 3, literally looked like I think it's probably decent, I would imagine. He looked like he locked himself in a gym until he fixed his jump shot. Like he just like put like chains on the door and was like, I'm not leaving here.
The trebuchet of doom today was
seriously.
Dude,
yeah.
How about this? Let me butt in here to say this.
No, please.
You say he does a good OG impersonation. What if he just like is OG? And what I mean by that is not like, oh, NBA GMs can't tell them apart. You know, like scientists can't tell the difference between these two images. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. My point is like, what if their game, and I've brought this up before and I felt smart for it, so I'm going to do it now and see what you think. I think their game is the same, which is like, be really physical, get up into people, don't get around screens, bulldoze them, not through them, bulldoze the screen, leave rubble, like just go. And when you are any little bit open in the corner, fire away, bombs away relentlessly, and get to the paint. And if they're crashing, then pull up for a little midi. You like that little midi, pull up, right? Like, I think they're the same player. I think they're just sized very differently in a way that matters a lot, in several ways that Hey, now. They play different positions. Your turn. Your turn. Your turn.
Well, here's the thing. I agree with a lot of this analysis, and I do think that when the Knicks went to acquire Mikal Bridges, they thought they were getting an OG Anunoby clone. They were like, I've talked about this clone theory before, and they thought, you know what would be nice? OG is so great for this team. He's such a perfect fit. You know what would take this team over the edge? Another OG Anunoby. That would be literally what we would need the most. And so they went out and got Bridges in it, but
Mikal and OG, like even, okay, Deuce is closer to Mikal in height, but I'd say Deuce and OG are way closer in play style.
My only issue with the difference is that I just like OG so much more on ball against a variety of different archetypes.
Well, yeah,
that's the difference.
I'll sign right now that like if he could pilot Wemby or whatever body is best he'd be the best defender. Like, I think he's the best instinctual defender in the league. Lou Dort and Fred Katz has done some really good writing on Lou Dort and like what he does to literally like study like shadow jutsu, like study people's movements and like learn how to mirror them.
You see it in how he guards. You can see it on how he guards. I think maybe Caruso might do some of that too. But
OG, yeah. I think the way, and it's like I'm an ass for this, but like OG doesn't need to do that because he's bigger and like he's fine regardless. And that's crazy. Like OG sits before games with Chris Gent and watches film every night before a game. Little tendencies for the other team. And then also offensively, like what are the other team's defensive tendencies? Like whenever the Knicks are playing a young team, I've noticed you will see them take a lot of catch and shoot threes because they're counting on young teams to be 0.4 seconds behind on the closeout. Like just not execute right away. And so they're gonna rip them. And like, I don't know. I just think there's something to OG and Deuce being similar offensively in ways that like they eat in the same ways in this offense, besides OG being maybe the pound for pound best, I'm going to dunk this ball no matter what guy in the NBA.
Yeah.
And that part of that's a size thing. I can't help but think Deuce would play that way if he was 6'8" and twice his width. But like I honestly love all those comparisons and definitely gives me some food for thought. And you mentioned eating. Hopefully everybody's eating good today and beyond with leftovers for the rest of the week. This episode just flew by. But yeah, obviously huge win for the Knicks in terms of just blowing out a team that they're better than and really asserting their dominance in the way that they should. And hopefully you all enjoyed that. You enjoyed this pod. Again, wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. And we, Chris and I and Gavin, are all so thankful for the Locked On Knicks audience who tune in, leave comments. We engage with you all, have conversations. It's a great community that we're continuing to build here. So definitely super appreciative for all of you out there. And for Chris and I'm XJ. And, this has been Locked On Knicks. We will see you next time.